Hey, good morning, students. Now, today we are going to learn the next topic, that is leak detections in vacuums. And in the last some videos, we have studied the vacuum techniques, that means how to produce the vacuums and the devices used to produce the vacuums. Various gauges we have studied, and we have studied the ranges of vacuum produced by using the gauges. Now let us study the leak detection in vacuum, and this is very critical topic to detect the detection of a leak in a vacuum or any leak. It might be either a gas leak or a liquid leak. That leak detection is a very critical topic. So let us try to understand what is meant by a leak only. What exactly is a leak? A leak is any small hole in one or several parts of the system which allows the uncontrolled entry or exit of the gas. Sorry. So there might be one or several holes in the system, and because of those holes in the system, there might be entry or exit of a gas which is uncontrolled. And as for the leak rate, this is dependent on several factors, which includes the size of the hole if there is one hole, or size of holes if there are multiple holes, what type of gas is there in the container, and a pressure difference, that is the pressure difference between inside of the system and outside the system. So this is called as a leak. The leak rate describes the magnitude of the leak in terms of the amount of the gas that passes out the system per unit time. So leak rate is nothing but the amount of gas which passes out per unit time or per unit second, you can say. So this is about a leak, and there are several reasons why a system may fail to maintain the vacuum levels in case of a vacuum, or if you are considering in case of water, then water levels, including outgassing or contamination. What do you mean by outgassing? Outgassing is nothing but a part of leakage only. Whenever the gas is leaking out, that is called as outgassing, and thus this contains outgassing or contamination. Moreover, different vacuum processes and applications call for different leak rate requirements. That is, what is acceptable at the lower vacuum would be considered unacceptable, which is possibly dangerous at a high vacuum level. Reducing or eliminating the leak is an important for number of reasons, and these reasons are operator safety. There might be a toxic gas or fluid leakage. It's like in a chemical industries, if there is a gas leakage or fluid leakage which is acidic, then that might be dangerous. So therefore, reducing this leakage or eliminating the leakage is quite important for the operator safety. Second is the product safety. To stop air from entering a system where it may significantly contribute to the formation of an explosive mixture. Why this is product safety is very important, because if there is a air leakage in the system from outside, then the product may get contaminated, and once the product gets contaminated, then the product is unusable. So therefore, the elimination of leakage or reducing the leakage is very important. Next is to ensure and maintain the pressure or a vacuum. So particular vacuum level is, or pressure level is necessary to maintain in a vessel. Whenever you are going to do the chemical reaction, a particular vacuum level or pressure level is necessary. So therefore it is necessary to reduce or eliminate the leakage to ensure a long user life for product, for environmental and quality standard, and for process efficiency. For all of these reasons, the leakage of the gas or leakage of the fluid is very necessary. Despite above all reasons, it must be accepted that no system can ever be absolutely vacuum tight. No 100% system is exists in the nature, so we cannot expect the same case in case of vacuum, but still we have to try for 100% vacuum tight system, and indeed it is not be, it just need to be manageable or at least low enough so that the operating pressure, gas balance and ability to reach and maintain a final ultimate pressure are not impacted. If all these impacted, then there will be a loss of the product which is produced in the industries. With regard to the leaks, one need to distinguish between the its two types, where the direction of the gas or fluid flow is into the vessel, known as the outside in leak, and the second where the gas or fluid passes from inside the specimen, test specimen, towards the outside, known as the inside out leak, because gas is leaking from inside to out, that's why it is called as inside leak. And in above case it is called as outside in, that means gas is coming inside from outside, so this is also called as outside in leak, right? Moreover, there are two aspects of examining the leak technology and leak detection, that is locating the leak and measuring the integral leak rate of the complete device. So this leak detection is a very critical process. So let's move ahead for the leak detection, and there are basically four different test, or I can say types, which helps to detect the leak. The first is bubble test, second is a pump down test, third one is a pressure rise test, and fourth one is a pressure drop test. There is one more test that it is called as helium leak detection. We are going to study in the next some slides. So as with almost every facet of the vacuum system, there is no single method which fulfills every situation and every criteria. This is certainly the situation, and this is certainly the case with leak detection, with four main methods being employed as I stated above: bubble test, pressure decay test, pressure rise test, and helium sniffer. This helium sniffer is a part of helium detection. Helium sniffer mode or helium vacuum mode test, both are same. These four tests roughly corresponds to the simplistic bubble test for low vacuum pressure through to the high technology helium test. Helium test is a high technology test which generally used to measure the very high vacuum pressure. Now let's study the first test, bubble test. And this bubble test is best illustrated by placing a punctured bicycle tube underwater and marking where the bubbles come from, or placing washing up liquid around the joint of an active water gas pipe and observing whether the liquid forms a froth. Both are reliable ways of detecting a low pressure leak. The bubble test is employed up to a vacuum of 10 to the power minus 4 millibar. This is a very common example we are observing in a day-to-day life. So there is no much to explain about the bubble test. This is a one can easily understand the bubble test. Next is the pump down test. This pump down test is conducted by evacuating a closed vacuum vessel until a certain pressure is obtained, and then closing the pump's inlet valve. After a predetermined period of time, the inlet valve is again opened and the time is recorded for the pump to return the vacuum to the original evacuated level. This process is repeated a number of times. If the time to return the vacuum to the original level remains the constant, then the leak is present. If this time period decreases, then this indicates reduced gas liberation or outgassing on the inside of the system. That is a virtual leak. However, it does not exclude a leak from also being present. So this is about the pump down test. Next is the pressure rise test. So I can say that in this pressure rise test is made by plotting the vacuum level against the time after a vacuum level has been achieved, and after isolating the system, the curve will be a straight line if the leak is present. However, if the pressure rise is due to gas liberation from the system walls, then the rise will be gradually taper off to reach a final or to a stable value. In most cases, both phenomena occurs simultaneously, which makes separating one from the other almost impossible. If the volume of the chamber or item under test is known, then the leak rate can be calculated. That is volume into measured rise in pressure divided by time taken. This gives you the leak rate. Let's go for the next kind of a test, that is pressure drop test. And this test is not dissimilar to the pressure rise test. It is only rarely used to check the leaks in vacuum systems and only when the gauge pressure does not exceed 1 bar. Since the flag connections used in vacuum technology will not tolerate higher pressures. However, the pressure drop test is frequently employed in tank engineering. Wherever the tanks are included, in that case pressure drop test is used. Pressure drop test allows leak rate measurement up to 10 to the power minus 4 millibar, but results can be distorted if condensation occurs. So this is the drawback of this test. As one can see, the pressure difference decay test is fraught with caveats, but if employed under the laboratory conditions, then it is a good tool to determine both leaks and leak rates. So this test is having some drawbacks into it. Now let us move for the helium test. This is very high technology test, and it must be noted that only credible method to detect the leaks smaller than 10 to the power minus 6 millibar is with the vacuum leak detector. So this test is also having a drawback, because this test is only used to measure a very high vacuum or a very low pressure. A leak diameter for 10 to the power minus 12 millibar is also the diameter of the helium molecule, and This diameter is approximately equals to 1 angstrom. 1 angstrom is equal to 10 to the power minus 10 meter actually, which is the smallest detectable leak rate, isn't it? And a leak rate of 1 millibar means a rise of 1 millibar from a 1 liter vessel in a second. To put this into a simple context, a leak rate of less than 10 to the power minus 2 millibar would be classified as a watertight, and less than 10 to the power minus 3 millibar is classified as a vapor tight, whereas a leak rate less than 10 to the power minus 5 millibar is classified as a oil tight. Less than 10 to the power minus 6 millibar is classified, or it is named as a virus tight. 10 to the power minus 7, less than 10 to the power minus 7 millibar is classified as a gas tight, and less than 10 to the power minus 10 millibar is classified as a absolute tight. So these are just the classification ranges in the vacuum test, helium test. Other than just the diameter of this helium molecule, there are other reasons why helium is employed in leak detection. It constitutes only 5 parts per million, only 5 ppm in air. So background levels are very low. Its relatively low mass means that it is very mobile. It implies that it mixes very quickly with other gases, and therefore using this the leak detection becomes very simple. It is completely inert or non-reactive, non-inflammable and harmless, and that's why helium is used in leak detection and is widely available at relatively low cost. These are several ways to test a leak vacuum vessel and components using the helium, but all employ the same principle. The unit being checked is either helium pressurized from within or helium pressurized from outside. The gas from any potential leaks are collected and pumped into a mass spectrometer for analyzing, and any value above the background vessel is evident of leak. So this spectrometer itself works in the following way. Any helium molecule flowing into the spectrometer will be ionized, and these helium ions will then fly into the ion detector, where the ion current is analyzed and recorded. Before reaching the detector, the ions have to pass through a magnetic field which deflects all ions other than helium ions based on the ionization current. The leak rate can be then calculated using the above formula, right? So this is about leak detection test, and in next some video we'll study the leak measurement, right? So with this we'll stop now, and in the next video we'll go for the leak measurement. Thank you.